Yesterday, a company did something no one in Silicon Valley dared to do. They handed their most dangerous weapon to the public. 2 months ago, the US government said this very model was too dangerous to release. It could autonomously find zero-day vulnerabilities in the world's most advanced operating systems faster than any human hacker alive. Before the launch, one of Anthropic's engineers said publicly, "We don't know where its ceiling is." And then they released it anyway. But here's the thing, the most interesting part of this story isn't how powerful the model is. The most interesting question is this company genuinely trying to do good? Or have they figured out that playing the good guy is the most ruthless competitive strategy in the history of tech? I'll give you my answer up front, and then tell you the story. Both things might be true at the same time. In 2021, Silicon Valley had a breakup. Not a company breakup. A worldview breakup. On one side, Sam Altman. On the other, Dario Amodei. Same industry. Same technology. Completely opposite convictions about one question. And that question would reshape the entire AI landscape 5 years later. Dario Amodei was VP of Research at OpenAI. He helped build GPT-2 and GPT-3 from the ground up. By any measure, he was exactly where he was supposed to be. His split with Sam wasn't about money or power. It was about one fundamental disagreement. How fast should AI move? Sam's argument, you can't slow down. Speed is survival. If you stop to do safety research and your competitors don't, you lose. And if you lose, what was the point of the safety research? Dario's argument, the fact that no one can stop is exactly what makes it dangerous. When everyone is accelerating and nobody is pumping the brakes, does anyone actually know where this road ends? Both arguments are logical. They just can't coexist inside the same company. In 2021, Dario left. He took his sister Daniela and 5 senior researchers with him and started Anthropic. His entire bet came down to one sentence. Safety and commercial success can exist at the same time. The industry's reaction was basically, sure, good luck with that. Nobody thought he'd win. Meanwhile, OpenAI locked in $13 billion from Microsoft and went full throttle. Every AI company was building models to be smarter. Anthropic was building models to have values. That sounds like philosophy class, right? In a speed race, they were installing a brake on the car. But what happened next will make you rethink what a brake is actually worth. Anthropic's foundational technique is called constitutional AI. The standard approach to AI safety is a rulebook. Here's what you can't say, here's what you can't do. The problem? Rules can't keep up with reality. Users always find the next workaround. Anthropic's approach was different. Instead of rules, they gave the model values a deep understanding of why certain things are wrong. So even in situations no one anticipated, the model could reason its way to the right answer. More radically, they published something called the Responsible Scaling Policy, a formal, public commitment that if their model's capabilities crossed certain safety thresholds, they would voluntarily stop training. Think about what that means. In a race where speed determines everything, you're committing in writing to hit the brakes at a specific moment. OpenAI didn't make that commitment. Google didn't. xAI didn't. Nobody else in the industry did. Anthropic was the only one. Claude launched in March 2023 with almost zero revenue. At the same moment, ChatGPT was adding millions of users every day. Dario said something around that time that got written down: the commercial pressure we're under is enormous. And we've added a pile of safety requirements on top that nobody else has. This is a harder game to play. He didn't remove the requirements. Someone ran the numbers on Anthropic's burn rate. Training a frontier AI model costs billions in compute. Safety research generates zero direct revenue. They were spending money to buy something nobody was sure could be monetized. Then Amazon and Google made a decision that changed the entire equation. In 2023, Amazon committed up to $4 billion to Anthropic. Google followed. This wasn't charity. It was a calculated bet. Here's what most tech coverage missed: enterprise buyers, big corporations, banks, law firms, hospitals don't just want the smartest AI. They want the AI they can trust. The one that won't leak customer data, won't say something that gets them sued, won't become a liability. Anthropic's safety positioning became a moat almost overnight. 8 of the Fortune 10 became Claude customers. Not because Claude was the sharpest model on every benchmark. Because it was the one the compliance team would approve. Revenue, $1 billion annualized in early 2025. $5 billion 8 months later. 10x growth per year, 3 years running, one of the fastest growing tech companies ever recorded. And the whole time, OpenAI was also growing fast. Google Gemini was pushing hard. XAI was coming. The compute arms race was accelerating every single day. No one slowed down. Except Anthropic, still running, still carrying that brake. Then came the moment that tested whether any of it was real. Imagine this: you train a model. You test it. The results make everyone in the room go quiet. And then you make a decision that has almost no precedent in business history. In May 2025, Claude Opus 4 finished training. The internal safety evaluation triggered something that had never been activated before: ASL3, their highest safety classification. Chief scientist Jared Kaplan went public with the reason. This model may have meaningful capability to assist someone in synthesizing something like COVID-19 or a more dangerous flu variant. Our evaluation shows this may be technically feasible. Not certain. But not ruled out either. 2 options were on the table. Option 1, reframe the risk assessment, adjust the safety threshold, ship the product. Nobody would know. Competitors weren't waiting. Option 2, honor the commitment they'd made in writing 4 years earlier. Accept the commercial consequences. They chose option 2. This was the moment Dario's 2021 bet either paid off or turned out to be just words. You might think this is the climax of the story. It's not. The biggest twist is still coming. A company's most dangerous threat is never its competitors. It's the moment your biggest customer asks you to do something you can't say yes to. In July 2025, the Pentagon signed a contract with Anthropic worth up to $200 million. Claude became the most widely deployed AI model in the US military. But the contract had 2 hard limits: Claude could not be used for mass domestic surveillance, and could not be used in fully autonomous weapons systems, weapons that decide whether to fire without a human in the loop. In January 2026, the Pentagon came back with a new ask: remove both restrictions. Unlimited access. Dario said no. Defense Secretary Hegseth issued an ultimatum, Friday deadline. Either open up, or get labeled a supply chain risk. That label is normally reserved for Huawei. For companies the US government considers foreign threats to national security. Dario's response was one sentence: we cannot, in good conscience, agree to this. On February 27, 2026, President Trump signed an executive order cutting off all government use of Anthropic technology. An American company. Founded in San Francisco. By Americans. Labeled a national security threat by its own government. Anthropic sued the United States. Now I'm going to say something Anthropic probably doesn't want you thinking too hard about. Because if I don't, this stops being a business story and starts being a press release. During the Pentagon saga, Anthropic raised at a $380 billion valuation. By May 2026, that number hit $965 billion, passing OpenAI to become the highest valued AI company in the world. Annualized revenue, $47 billion. The market gave them a standing ovation. But the critics showed up too. And their argument is worth sitting with. Here's the sharpest version of it. Anthropic's safety stance is, at its core, a regulatory moat strategy. The logic goes like this: when you're the first company to loudly champion safety standards, you're sending a signal to governments and enterprise buyers that safety requires a certain threshold to clear. Whoever sets that threshold shapes the rules. When regulators start using AI safety as a benchmark, the company that already built the compliance infrastructure wins, lowest cost, highest barrier to entry. The company that benefits most from that dynamic? Anthropic. Does this argument have merit? Honestly, yes. But it's incomplete. The part that holds up, Anthropic's safety positioning absolutely generated commercial outcomes, and massive ones. To say that has nothing to do with business incentives would be dishonest. The part that doesn't hold up, pure commercial logic, doesn't explain turning down a $200 million Pentagon contract. It doesn't explain voluntarily triggering ASL3 on a product you could have shipped without anyone knowing. It doesn't explain publishing a written commitment to stop training, the kind of clause that makes investors deeply uncomfortable. You don't do those things for the optics. The optics aren't worth that much. The most honest read is probably this: both things are true simultaneously. They genuinely believe in safety, and safety genuinely made them rich. Those two facts don't cancel each other out. But they do make it very hard to evaluate the company through any single lens. Then came yesterday. Yesterday's announcement pushed this whole story into its final chapter and its most complicated one. On June 9, 2026, Anthropic released Claude Fable 5. Its predecessor, Claude Mythos, was declared 2 months ago to be too dangerous for public release. It could autonomously find and chain zero-day exploits across major operating systems. Only a small group of vetted companies could access it, under a program called Project Glasswing. Yesterday, they sold it to the rest of us. With guardrails. Fable 5 is Mythos with safety classifiers running on top. In high-risk domains, cybersecurity, biology, chemistry, it hands the request to a more conservative model. The unrestricted version, Mythos 5, stays locked behind vetting. Only approved partners get that one. This is a surgically precise product architecture: keep the most dangerous capability in the vault, package the rest for the public market, price it at double the previous flagship. The benchmarks are not subtle. SWE Bench Pro, the hardest coding evaluation in the field, Fable 5 scored 80. The next best model scored 69. That's not a slight edge. In AI terms, that's a generation gap. One engineering team used it to migrate a 15 million line codebase in a single day. And buried in the fine print of the launch, Fable 5 now refuses to help with anything that might accelerate AI development itself: pre-training pipelines, distributed training infrastructure, ML accelerator design. The stated reason: Anthropic is worried AI is starting to accelerate its own evolution faster than humans can track. A company installing a brake on its own most powerful product, while competitors aren't installing anything. That's the paradox at the center of this entire story, and it still isn't resolved. The more powerful the model, the more dangerous. The more dangerous, the more money you need for safety research. The more money you need, the more pressure you take from governments, investors, and the market. The more pressure, the harder the line is to hold. Dario said it in 2021, safety and commercial success can exist at the same time. 5 years later, as of yesterday, that sentence is still true. But the hardest tests may be the ones still ahead. 3 things worth taking from this story. First, constraints can become your strongest competitive advantage. But only if they're real, built before anyone believed in them, and held when holding them actually costs something. A performed limitation is worthless. A real one builds trust. And trust, in this moment in history, is the scarcest and most valuable thing a company can have. Second, the core of playing a weak hand is redefining the game. In 2021, Anthropic had nothing: no Microsoft backing, no Google infrastructure, no ChatGPT user base. Their one move was to shift the competition from who's smartest to who's safest. You don't win on your competitors' terms. You change the terms. Third, the most important business stories never have a clean hero. Is Anthropic doing the right thing? Yes. Did they also profit enormously from doing it? Yes. Both of those are true at once, and that tension is what makes it real. Any company story with only one face is probably a press release. The ones worth paying attention to are the ones that don't resolve neatly.